Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Tarot by Hillary Live. I am your host, Hillary of tarotbyhillary.com, and that is Hillary with one L in order to find me right here. Or you can go to the website right there. I am a professional tarot reader helping to demystify the mystical and connect you to your own intuition because, yes, my friend, you do have intuition. So, tonight's episode is all about goal setting with the tarot and with an emphasis on what your tarot card of the year for 2020 is. I cannot believe we are fast approaching the end of the year. We're into the holiday season. Thanksgiving came and went, and we are now in the mad rush to Hanukkah, to Yule, to Christmas. To all different festivities that happen in the month of December. And then we're gearing up towards the new year of 2020. So not only is it amazing that we're to the end of 2019, and so at the end of another year, but we are also ending a decade and moving into a new decade. So I thought that this episode would be ripe for goal setting with the tarot, learning how to work with the tarot, and also calculating your tarot card of the year for the year 2020, your personal tarot card of the year, so that you can get a heads up on the energy of 2020. Hi, Dina. Nice to see you again. So, if you haven't already, I did say, I think ahead of the broadcast, to grab yourself a piece of paper and a pen or pencil, because we are going to be doing a little bit of math in this episode. And I know that sounds crazy for me to say because I am so not a math person, but this is the type of math that anyone can really do. It's not long division, it's not calculus, it's not any of that. It's really basic addition and then addition to get and then breaking down that number and then adding those numbers together to get you a number that is between, I believe, 1 and 21 to tell you which major arcana card is your year card for the year 2020 based upon your birth date. So, sorry, you need your birthday, which I hope you know, and the year. So this kind of information I'm giving you straight from the excellent book. So I already, of course, have a pad of paper and a pen to hand. I just rushed and got it. Instead of doing a full face of makeup, I made sure to be prepared and had my notebook and pen here. This is actually our cute little shopping list from the Frantic Meerkat, if you like the style of it. So it has a fun little character on it, and it says, to do, get drunk and eat waffles, and then the rest of it is your checklist or your shopping list or whatever. So we use this for a grocery list, but it's a piece of paper and a pen or pencil. So you can go ahead and run and get that right now. I will not take any offense, because you can also listen to the replay or watch the replay if you happen to miss anything in between. But I will pause for a second to hydrate while you guys get your paper and pen or pencil, okay? So grab that, come on back. And I'm gonna drink some water in the meantime. All right. So you got it? Say yes, drop a yes, and let me know that you're ready to go. All right, Dina says she got it. All right, so very quickly, you might want to do this. You can do this with a pad of paper and a pen, or since we're talking about goal setting with the tarot and talking about the year 2020, if you happen to have your planner, your date book, or whatever for the year 2020, go ahead and break that out, and you can do that in the margin, or you can transfer that information from the piece of paper that you're working on right now into the front of your planner, so that you always have that to hand in the back of your mind what your tarot card of the year is. So I happen to have my planner for 2020 right here. I'm not going to go ahead and break it out, but it is the Passion Planner. I've been using this for a number of years now, and I really like it. This one is in Brilliant Blush with a Monday start instead of a Sunday start. So you can choose that. So passionplanner.com if you like the style of this or you want more information about it. I dig it a lot. So, and this particular one, the pink one, donates toward the Malala Fund. So funding different passion projects. So that's the reason why I got the pink one. I also liked the color of it. So anyway, so grab your planner and everything. If you want to do this in your planner, that's fine. Or if you want to do this on a scrap of paper beforehand and then transfer it into your planner, cool as well. So we're talking about calculating. So first of all, let me pull up the agenda here. We're talking about goal setting with the tarot, and also calculating our 2020 tarot card of the year. So goal setting with the tarot isn't that much different from goal setting in any other way, shape, or form. I like to think of it almost as a way of charming the cards or using the cards as affirmations or empowerment in order to get you towards goals. So if you haven't already seen the episode where we covered charming a tarot card, go back and watch that episode after you're done watching this one. I think it would be really helpful because all of the techniques that I tell you in that episode about charming a tarot card works just as well for goal setting with the tarot. So it's kind of, I kind of conflate the two as the same thing. It's not the same thing. That's just how I happen to goal set with the tarot. I charm those cards in order to manifest those goals to then work towards those goals. So the fun part of this episode is finding out what your tarot card for the year 2020 is. So I'm going to go ahead and work out what my tarot card of the year for 2020 is, so that I can show you how to do it. So when you're seeing me put in the numbers, put in the numbers for your birthday. So you're going to put in, we'll get to it. I will be quite specific and I will move you step by step into calculating this when we get there. But when I say my month, my day, substitute in your birth date, your month, your birth month, and your birth date when we get there, okay? Give me a thumbs up in the chat. Let me know that you're all still with me because we're going to move into calculating your 2020 tarot card of the year. Now, this is, and also, tell me who you are. Tell me what your name is and where you're tuning in from if you are here live and if you are tuning in for the replay. I want to know either way who you are, where you're tuning in from, because I see we have 3 people in the live right now. I'm sure that'll become more as we go through this. But I'd love to know who's tuning in. So say hi. I know Dina's here, so thank you, Dina, for tuning in yet again. So all of this stuff that I'm telling you about tonight, I always like to give credit where credit is due, is from the excellent book from the mother of modern tarot, Mary K. Greer. So this is her book. It was formerly called Tarot Constellations. And it was revised back in, hold on, let me see. I'm pretty sure it was around 2011, maybe. Yeah, I'm right, 2011. So parts of the book were originally published in Tarot Constellations, which was originally published in 1987. So this is revised and updated based on that work. And it has so much information. Oh, hi, Denise. Yes, Denise, we are live right now. Thank you for tuning into the live broadcast. Yay, I'm so excited to see you. So this is Who Are You in the Tarot by Mary K. Greer. Now, I have actually worked with clients doing the work in this book. Actually, one of my regular clients, I had her borrow this book and she never gave it back to me. So I figured, a gift is a gift. And I went ahead and I got my own copy a couple years ago when I attended the Masters of the Tarot at the Omega Center. And so when I did that, I made sure to get a signed copy from Mary, because I told her that story too. I was just like, I was doing this work with my client and she loved it so much that she kept the book. So I need a new one. So sign it for me, please. So she thought that was incredibly funny and flattering at the same time. So I would really encourage you guys to pick up this book. I think it is just a treasure trove of information and using the tarot in a different way to what you're used to than just performing divination for it and pulling, a bunch of different cards. This is specifically designed to explore, to do a lot of self-exploration, shadow work, turning your positives to negatives, your negatives to positives, like becoming more aware of your predilections or your possibilities based on your birth information. So the reason why it was originally called Tarot Constellations is because when you calculate your birth card, it's not just your birth card that you're calculating. You're also calculating the constellation of cards that is associated with that major arcana card. So Dina says, I have her book, Tarot for Yourself. That is also an excellent, excellent book. And if you're looking to expand your bookshelf for tarot books, especially on that topic, reading tarot for yourself, you should really pick up Courtney Weber's reading Tarot for One, The Art of Reading for Yourself. And I actually contributed to that book. I believe chapter 7 is about what missing cards can tell you about a reading. So like if there's a love reading but no cups present, what the missing cards could tell you about that situation. So I always recommend that book because it really is an excellent book for a topic that most tarot readers have trouble with. We got no problem reading for other people, but sometimes when we have to use tarot for ourselves, it becomes a whole different ball of wax. And so there's a lot of great techniques in there to gain more clarity and objectivity when you're reading the cards for yourself, because you can read tarot for yourself and for others. It's just about getting to that objective headspace. So that's an aside, but really excellent book there. So back to the reason why this was originally called Tarot Constellations. So for example, the constellation of the High Priestess, it's not just about the High Priestess card. It also is associated with the Justice card, the Judgment card, and then the twos of the minor arcana, wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. So take a look at that. Can you see that there? So that's the constellation, the tarot constellation of the High Priestess card. So Dina said, I heard you on Tarot Bites on that subject. Yes. Yeah, I talked about that with Teresa Reed, the tarot lady, about missing cards. That whole blog post, that was a guest post originally on Teresa's blog and on her website. And that was then repurposed into chapter 7 of Courtney's book, Permissioned. So with my permission and with Teresa's permission, since I was the author of it and it appeared originally on Teresa's website. So thank you for listening to that. That was a really great episode. I loved it. And that podcast is an excellent podcast when you want to learn about tarot and you only have a little bit of time. That's why it's called Tarot Bites. Get it? Just a bite-sized portion of tarot information, so that usually most episodes are only 10 to 15 minutes in length, so you can listen on your commutes or wherever you need to get that tarot information. And also, speaking of podcasts, I'm also doing a podcast eventually. We have been recording episodes, so stay tuned for that. I will give more information when I have it. So I didn't get this tattoo for no reason. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, so the constellation of the High Priestess, if the High Priestess is your birth card, you also have those tarot cards associated with you, not just the High Priestess. So birth cards, we're not talking about birth cards this episode. We are talking about the year card. So the birth card, I believe, would be calculated much in the same way as you would calculate your year card, which we're going to talk about. But instead of putting in the year that you want the card for, you would put in your birth year. And then that way you can find out what your birth card means. So I am not going to read out loud all of the different, actually I can. But we'll use the people that are here live as examples very quickly, so I can give you your information ahead of everybody else, and then I'll run through, if you have this number, it's this card, this number, this card. All right? Okay, so are we ready to calculate our 2020 tarot card of the year? Because, as Mary says, for each year of your life, you have a card from the major arcana called the year card. It represents the tests and lessons you experience in any given year. Some major arcana cards will appear as your year cards over and over, while others you will never get. The events that happen to you in any year offer the opportunity to master new skills and discover more about yourself and your needs. The year card points out what that learning will be about. It indicates the kind of archetypal energies that are constellated in that year, suggesting personal qualities you can work with, such as assertion, compassion, and relating. Knowing your year card makes you more aware of the overall situation at your disposal and the kinds of learning opportunities it presents during that year. So we're going to try and get ahead a little bit of the year 2020 to kind of see what the year 2020 is going to be for us based on our birth dates. So it's pretty simple. So are we ready? Say yes in the chat. I've got my pen. And we've got 4 people here. Oh, Katie's here. Sorry. The chat's been going fast and furious while I've been talking. So Katie's here from Australia. We've got Dina here, and we've got Denise here. So hi, everybody. All right. Yes. Okay. We are ready to go. All right. So the first thing that you're going to write down is the month of your birth. So, and write that on one line. So I'm going to hold up mine. So my month of birth is April. So I'm putting in a 4. So you go ahead and put in, like, if you were the month of October, put in a 10. Here in the book, the month of birth is an 8, for example. Got that? Month of birth. All right. On the next line, you're going to put in the day of your birth. And I just made it kind of messy here because for some reason I don't draw 8s very well. So the day of birth. So I was born on April 8th, so I'm putting the month of birth as 4, and the day of birth is 8. Got that? Let me know you're keeping up. So now this next line is going to be the same for all of us. All right? So this says here, current year. So if you want to go back after this episode and put in what your year card was for 2019, based on what we're doing right now, by all means, I would love to hear that in the chat if you do decide to do that, because I'm always coming back and seeing the comments even after we're done with the live episode. I'm always looking in there to see if anyone has any questions or comments. So I would love to hear what your 2019 card of the year was. Because, and then you can look at the different events in that year, looking back to see how that card brought up those lessons. So current year, we're not there yet, right? But the current year, or the year we're talking about, is 2020. So go ahead, and so this line is going to be the same for everyone. 2020 you're putting in, okay? The future is now. All right, everyone's saying we're all good? Okay, so here comes the math portion. You are going to add up those lines. So the month of your birth, the day of your birth, and your current year, you're going to add all of that up together. And I really wish I had my calculator here, but it should be relatively easy for me because I have single numbers. But I'm going to give you guys a second and I'll show you what my result is, because then we add the numbers together in a line, but we're not there yet. So go ahead and add up line 1, line 2, and line 3. Okay. And people check my math here. So I'm getting 2032. Okay. So you're going to have a kind of futuristic looking number as well, obviously, because you're adding those numbers onto 2020. So let me know when you're to that step and we'll move on to the next step. I'm seeing an all good from Katie, but that I think was from earlier. And hopefully I don't knock over everything in front of me because I've got a stack of books and tarot cards in front of me. So just give me a yep. Ooh, and we have 9 viewers right now. So, and I've only seen 3 people, 3 or 4 people saying hello. So please say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from, because I want to make sure I'm seeing everyone's notes here. All right, Dina says yes. All right. So your next step now. Yeah, thumbs up from Katie. So great. So what you're going to do is you're going to separate out that number. So I'm going to show you here before I go ahead and add it up. So it's not 2032 anymore. It's 2 plus 0 plus 3 plus 2 equals. So this is not hard math. Vicky is saying hello. Hello, Vicky. So I'm going to go ahead and do my math. So go ahead and add up your numbers. Okay. So 2, 6, 7. So I'm getting a 7 for me. Now, if you're getting over 23, you want to do like 2 plus 3. So let me know. Hi, Vicky. No, what you want to do, so Vicky's asking, let me go ahead and drop this up. If born in December, do I add 1, 2 plus the other numbers? No. So you can always go back and watch the replay, but this is what you want to do first. You want to do you want to add up the lines like this. So if you're born in the month of December, you would put 12 on that line. You would put the day of birth on this line. You would put the current year, or what we're talking about, 2020, on this line. So you want to go ahead and put 12 on this one, then this, then this. Otherwise, it's going to add up to a different number. So do it as if you have, so like I can quickly do it for you. So you got 12. What's your, okay, so Dina's a 7 as well. So Vicky, what's your birthday? Because this would be applicable to anyone that has a double digit. Okay, so Vicky's saying 12/8. We're not doing your birth year in this because that would be your birth card, not your year card. So in this episode, we're doing what your tarot card of the year is for 2020. So we're doing, so 2020 is going to be the current year, or the year that we're talking about for this calculation. So all I need, so you're 12/8/2020. So let me do the math for you. So, and do it like, shoot. I'm going to use a new piece of paper here. So I would work it out like that. So you would add the 2 and the 8. So 9, 10. So you get a 0 there. Carry the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this. So you would get a 20/40. And then you would get 2 plus 0 plus 4 plus 0. So your number would be a 6. So that's your number. And then we're going to say what that tarot card is. So that would be your tarot card for the year 2020. Hope that makes sense, Vicky. Yep, exactly, Katie. So Katie's just like, I'm a 13. I think Vicky will be the same. No, she's a 6. So, but if you do happen to, let me flip this back over again. So it is simple math, but it's like so simple that it kind of trips you up. So here, so it says, following the example below, or the example that we just went through, add the month and the date of your birth to the current year and reduce it to 22 or less. So if you get, when you're doing that line addition and you're getting above a 22, you're going to add those again together in the same way. So like, for example, so if your results, if you got a 24, for example, that's above the 22, right? So you would do 2 plus 4 equals 6. Or you got like a 26. So 2 plus 6 is 8. So we want to reduce it down to a number that's 22 or less, because remember, there are 22 major arcana cards. So we want to be able to relate this number back to the major arcana. Okay? Yeah, I know. Katie's saying math in my head. I know. Like, I didn't want to have to work with this with math either. But when you find out what your tarot card is, or then when you, so this is the way you would calculate your birth card as well. Instead of using the year that we're talking about now, 2020, you can go back and you can use your birth year and add it up in that same way in order to get your birth card. So, but that's a different topic. We're talking about our years for 2020. But if you want to do this work and you want to get more in depth, pick up a copy of this. It's really, really illuminating. I love doing this. I've done this work with clients before and worked out all the stuff for them, for their birth cards, their family members' birth cards, and then the interaction of personalities. It gave a really in-depth explanation as to how people were relating to each other in the situation based upon their birth card. So it's not that much different to, you know, astrology and natal charts. You know, we are born under those stars, and it gives a clue to how our life is going to go, or personality traits. It's the same thing with the tarot. And tarot and astrology are pretty closely linked too. So now that you've got your numbers, let me know what your numbers are in the group, and we can go right ahead to finding out what your tarot card is. Let me go back to... So does everyone get this? I know it's math. I'm sorry. I'm throwing a little math at you at the end of the week. Okay. So so while people are doing that, I'm going to give you a little bit more information. So like the commencement of the tarot year, you might ask yourself, when does my year card begin? On January 1st or on my birthday? The answer is both. There are two different cycles that overlap to some extent, depending on how late your birthday is in the year. I look at both, but many prefer to focus on just one of these two cycles. So this would be applicable perhaps to Vicky, since you do have a December birthday. You might find this card that you're getting calculated right now to be more in line with perhaps next year's energy or this year's past energy. So there you go. Oh, Lynn's here. Awesome. So Lynn actually can attest to this, because I'm pretty darn sure that I brought this as homework at one point, having them calculate their birth cards. So Lynn, you'll have to remind me if I did that for you guys. I'm pretty sure we talked about that. And then of course my book went missing. So Lynn is a 6. I'm hearing that there's a bunch of 6s in the room right now. Is that right? Because I'm going to go straight to 6. Otherwise, I'm going to do mine, which is 7. So let's see. Left number, base number, sum, month, day, year. I don't know what this year chart is. Let me see. So, but we do have 2020 here, which is a 4-year, which makes sense, because if you take out everything that we just did and just left the year of 2020 intact, it would break down, or would add up to a 4. So the 4, I'm pretty sure the 4 would be related to Aries, the Emperor card, I believe. Let me see. Here. We have a whole section on interpreting your year cards. Thank goodness. Yep. So Lynn said we talked about it. Okay. Reminds me next time I see you to bring this or any requests that you might have. Okay. All right. So interpreting your year cards. The following interpretations of the major arcana as year cards suggest lessons to be learned in each year. They're intended to be suggestive rather than authoritative. Don't use them as a substitute for working with the cards yourself. In other words, try to discover directly what they have to tell you. So once again, like find out what your relationship is to that card's energy rather than relying on rote meanings or even the meanings that I'm about to tell you, because it's usually just scratching the surface of deeper work that you could be doing with that particular card. So I hope that makes sense. Let's see. So we've got 6s and 7s, a 13. Right. Katie is a 13. Yes. Okay. Right. Okay. That's unusual. All right. Let's see. So the Fool card, I don't know if it's necessarily in this because the Fool is 0. So let me just double check that the Fool is not in this at all. Yeah, it's not. I don't think you can get the Fool card. Well, actually, no. That's not true. So if you had a 22, it's rare. So if you had a 22, because there are 22 cards in the Major Arcana, but we end at the World card as 21. It's labeled as 21, but there are 22 cards of the Major Arcana. It's just the Fool card is labeled 0. So let me quickly do this one because it's rarer. Hi, Jackie. Jacqueline, yeah, we're already calculated this. So you're going to have to go back when the replay is available because I'm not doing one card readings right now. We're all calculating our tarot card of the year. So you can go back and watch the episode when we're done. We already went through it all. So your Fool year, the last possible Fool year, number 22 for an individual would have been January 1st, 1991, and there won't be another one for about 250 years, but reverberations of it may be felt in the Death and Emperor years. So that's interesting, right? 250 years. So Lynn says that the Fool is her birth year card. Interesting. Cool. So, all right. So let's get into, so I heard, right, exactly. Lynn says, even though we're not doing that, that happens to be her birth year card. So cool. So since there are a lot of 6s and 7s in here, I'm going to go ahead and start with the 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. And Katie is also saying she's a 22. Let me just double check that that's the same thing. I want to make sure that, yes. So if you're 22, if your birth date adds up to the 22, you combine great impulsiveness and great mastery, a fine line to balance, because you are a Fool Emperor. Because when you're doing the birth cards, you have like the light and the dark. You have the birth card, but then you have like the challenge card, which is kind of like it's opposite, but it's also mixed into your energy as well. So that would be Fool Emperor. Since there are 22 cards in the Major Arcana, in numerology, 22 is a master number signifying great wisdom or great folly. It reduces down to 4, which is the Emperor. While you might consider 4, the Emperor, to be your soul card and 22/0, the Fool, to be your personality card, I find that in practice they work as a unit. So there you go. So that's a quick aside. But that's the birth card. So again, pick up a copy of this book. It's really, really interesting, and you can get a lot out of it. So 6s, raise your hands. I'm a 7, so I'm not actually raising my hand. So 6s, you are in your lover's year for the year 2020. So, and thank you again to Mary Kay Greer for writing this. Always give credit where credit is due from your tarot teachers or from any teachers. So I'm not going to read all of this, but the focus in the Lover's Year, the focus is on relationships. People initiate them and end them, or occasionally will not be in any relationship at all because they are unwilling to accept less than they want and need. This may also pertain to relationships with family, coworkers, and friends. As a card related to Gemini and ruled by Mercury, one of your lessons is to learn to communicate open and honestly with nothing concealed. You expect this from others as well as yourself in a Lover's Year. The greatest lesson, what do you want and need in relationships? The people with whom you seriously relate reflect your own self-image, and so in a Lover's Year, to learn how you feel about yourself, look at how others view and treat you. And then this is also a year to begin turning to yourself for much of the support and encouragement you need. And listening to your inner voice. Learning about yourself through what you project onto others is also a major theme for the year. An old title for this card is The Two Paths, reminding us that a Lover's Year is a year of choices and often involves a fork in the road or a major turning point in your 10-year cycle. Your relationships will have a major influence on your decisions and may lie behind the need to make those decisions now. Remember that forthright communications are the hallmark of the year and essential in making all decisions. So that is your year for 2020. It's a Lover's Year for you sixes. So not only think about what I just said out of this book, but also think about what the Lover's card means to you in the tarot, because a lot of the people that tune into these episodes are learning tarot for themselves as well, or have already begun reading for themselves or reading for others. So I really encourage you to work with that individual card of the Lover's card and see what keywords comes up for you and how that lover's energy could play out over the year. So it did talk about relationships, but to me, the Lover's card is way more about choices and decision making and that whole fork in the road thing, rather than like sexy, sexy fun time or relationships. It's more about making decisions and having to make a decision because there is a fork in the road. You go one way or you go another. So that's the sixes. And I'm just gonna fix this. It's getting a little, need to charge up my selfie light. So who else is in here? Okay, who's a 7? Because I know I'm a 7, but it's not about me. Because I can go back and read this. So what other numbers are coming up here? So Katie's a 13. Is anybody else a 7 in here? Oh boy, of course. I'm looking at what the 7 is. I should know it off the top of my head because the Lover's card moves into, oh, so Dina's saying she's a 7. All right, me too, Dina. Let's go. Because the 7 is the Chariot. So I have a feeling 2020 is going to be a busy year for the both of us. So let's find out, shall we? Your Chariot year. In a Chariot year, you act and move ahead on the decisions made in the Lover's year. Well, that makes sense, right? For instance, you may decide to end a relationship in a Lover's year, but won't do so until the Chariot year. The Chariot year focuses on your goals, so you harness your energies to move forward and adventure forth. As 7 is a number of initiation, a 7 year is one in which to take your abilities to the next level. So this is actually very interesting. And just a quick aside, I have felt for a really long time that 2020 is an up-leveling year for many of us, not just people that are receiving the Chariot card for their year card, but like overall, I feel like it's like evolve or die for the year 2020, much like the energies that were going on around the year 2012, where people were freaked out about the whole Mayan calendar ending at the year 2012, it wasn't because the world was ending. It was because we're up-leveling to a new way of being. That's my take on it anyway. I just feel that energetically. But it's interesting that the Chariot year is coming up for me, and also Dina. And it's saying about taking your abilities to the next level. So you have to prove your expertise by handling difficult situations, often with conflicting aspects. That light and that dark horse that you have to rein together in order to get forward momentum. Okay. True mastery requires that you work on self-control and self-discipline. If you give free rein to your instincts and emotions, represented by the sphinxes or the horses, they may tear you apart. This can be experienced as some kind of breakdown, losing your temper or worse, or an accident, sometimes literally acted out in your automobile and chariot. Okay, well, I'll be super careful when I'm driving next year then. Jeez. To help you assert yourself in the world, you put on some sort of suitable armor, uniform, persona, or appearance. For instance, an expensive suit promotes you as a successful business person, while a special uniform or set of tools inspires confidence in your mastery. Such devices also cloak your sensitive feelings and insecurities. People often travel or relocate in a chariot year, yet as a card relating to Cancer, a sense of roots is necessary for you to feel secure in a possibly turbulent year. So as the moon rules Cancer, being near water can help you relax those touchy emotions and soothe your jangled nerves. Like, Mary, really? So that is your chariot year. Again, if you have other associations that are going on with the chariot, please listen to those associations, work with that energy, with those keywords that come up with you for the chariot, and see how you can deepen your relationship. Also, quick point to mention. So those of you that received, let's see, we had 6s and 7s, right? So you don't have to go back now and calculate for 2019, because you already know that number is going to be one better than the number for 2020. So your lover's year that you're moving into right now, if you are a 6, go back one to find out your number for 2019. So you are moving 6s from a Hierophant year of 2019 into a lover's year. So the Hierophant year is the second in power and authority cycle. And people often go back to school, complete a course of study, receive on-the-job training, establishing yourself in the field or developing your professional skills. Educational or corrective institutions, religious organizations, corporations can assume the role of authority figures in this year. Or you could become a spokesperson or rep for such an organization. So keep in mind, and so Dina and me, since we're moving into a chariot year, we are moving out of the lover's year into the chariot year. So this was a lover's year for us, 2019. But now we're moving into 2020, which is going to be a chariot year for you. So who had the 13? Katie had the 13. So let me go ahead and give Katie the 13. So 13, I believe, is the death card, if I'm remembering correctly. Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yes. So, yeah, Dina's saying for chariot, the road less taken. Yes. Or that's what happened in the lover's year. We learned which decision we wanted to make, and now the chariot year is going forth and really committing to that path. So Katie, you are number 13, which is a death year. It is rare that in your death year an actual death will occur, for it signifies transformation and regeneration as well as termination. In general, it's more of a time to shed old skin for new growth. Following a hanged man year, so 2019 was a hanged man year for you, in which you faced whatever was hanging you up, now you are liberated, often resulting in a fresh surge of energy. You cut through stagnation to get to the things that work for you. By trimming off the dead wood and dying aspects of your life, you allow all the life force to flow into healthy parts so that they can spring forth anew. Whatever is destroyed this year makes way for new life. So remember, the death card usually is depicted with that white rose blooming out of that battlefield scene. So to me, it always signifies that endings elicit new beginnings and are the fertilizer for new beginnings. While you may experience feelings of being dismembered, you will find yourself getting down to the bare bones scaffolding of your life or of a creative project. Once you've gotten rid of all that's unnecessary, what's left is something you can really trust and believe in. With nothing to block them any longer, your creative energies are set free to explore new possibilities. So the death year is actually a year of great vigor, liberated from inadequate forms. There can be a tremendous power and drive to assert your life force and face your greatest fears. So remember that the death card is associated with Scorpio. Since Scorpio is the corresponding sign, you have the force to plunge deeply into investigating hidden things, to do research, or to be involved in underworld schemes. You might court danger, enjoying the thrill of living close to the edge. Having the ability to merge totally with something else means that your experience will be deeply transformative. So you're aware of life and love, but can also become jealous and possessive. If so, beware. For what you are trying to possess may be wrenched away even more painfully. The question you need to ask yourself is what needs to be cleared away so that new growth can surge forth unhampered. So this is a big year for you, Katie, with the 13. So there you go. Anybody else have any other numbers that I can get to quickly? Because I am not going to read all 22 of these, but I am going to give you the associations so that you can go ahead and know which card that you're associated with if you're watching the replay. So we got a thumbs up from Katie. Let me know what number you happen to be getting if you were not a 6, a 7, or a 13. And I will quickly go through the numbers. Now, sometimes there is, in the major arcana, so Katie's saying, time to Marie Kondo. Yeah. Clean it all out, right? I'm sorry. This is annoying me. Not getting a lot of light source from my little selfie light. So if you happen to associate the major arcana numbering a little bit differently, it does have, like if you switch over the, I believe it's the justice. Yes, justice and strength. So some readers switch up the justice and the strength card, where justice is the number 11 and the strength card, justice as the number 8 and strength as the number 11. I don't do that. I see strength as the number 8. Yes. Yeah. Yes. I see strength as the number 8 and I see justice as the number 11, but some people do switch it. So anybody else with the number that came up for them? If not, I will let you all know about very quickly what your number is, or what the number is associated with the tarot card, so you can go back and do this on your own time. But just know, everyone that is 6s for 2021, you're going to be moving into the Chariot. And for those of us that are chariots, number 7, we're going to be moving into a strength year in 2021, which is a little bit scary for me now that I'm looking at the strength year, because I think about all of the associations that I have with strength. And usually the strength card signifies to me, anytime that it comes up, it's just like, you think that you're not strong enough to get through this situation, but you are. You have more inner fortitude than you believe. But it usually results in this kind of challenging feeling where it's just like, I don't want my strength to be tested. I don't want to hear that. So all right, no one's saying any other numbers, so I'm going to go ahead and go right through. So I already spoke about the year card of the Fool, but that is very rare. That would be the number 22. So that's the last possible Fool year, was January 1st, 1991. So if you happen to be tuning in and your birth date was January 1st, 1991, then you're a fool. You have the Fool card for 2020. But that's not going to happen for another about 250 years. So very unusual and divinely inspired. Okay. So let's go through. So the Magician card, so it's the same associations that you have for the major arcana of the tarot, the same numerological associations, you would then apply to that number, that added down number. So your Magician year would be number 1. And no one in our era can experience the Magician as a personality or year card, because since January 1st, 998, the number 1 has not appeared by itself, and it won't again until we get the dates adding up to 10,000, beginning on December 31st, 9,957 CE. So if you happen to get Wheel of Fortune or Sun, you may want to consider the role of the Magician in those years. Very interesting, right? So hopefully humans still exist in that time. Your High Priestess year, you would get a 2. So 2 is associated with the High Priestess. Likely a year of empowering your intuition and knowing what you know. Your Empress year would be 3. 3 is Empress. 4 is Emperor. 5 is Hierophant. 6 is Lovers. 7 is Chariot. 8 is Strength or Justice, depending on how you read tarot. 9 is the Hermit. 10 is the Wheel of Fortune. 11 is Justice or Strength, depending on which associations you have. Hanged Man is 12. Death is 13. Temperance is 14. The Devil is 15. The Tower is 16. The Star is 17. The Moon is 18. The Sun is 19. And Judgment is 20. And the World is 21. So there you go. And that's what to expect next year for 2020. So let me know what's coming up for you right now, whether or not you agree or disagree with these associations with the year cards, or if you happen to be looking back on 2019 and thinking about all the events that happened for you in 2019. Does it make sense? Does your year card for 2019, which would just be the one back from the year card you have for 2020, does that make sense to you? Were the events in your life, or the relationships in your life, or the big stuff that happened in that year or in this past year, does that make sense with the tarot card that comes up for that year? Let me know. So after reading, let me see. So we've already read the Lovers year, and focusing on relationships and making decisions as well. I feel like, yeah, that relates to me pretty strongly. I have that association, and I also kind of up-leveled in a way in my day job as well, where I've moved from doing the work into managing the work. So to me, that fork in the road definitely happened in 2019, and now I'm looking to see how I can grow or which way I'm going to go in 2020. So to me, the Lovers card for 2019 for me and the Chariot card for 2020 makes a lot of sense, but we'll have to see how 2020 goes, right? So Dina says, yes, a lot about my significant other in the Lovers year. Yeah, exactly. And so I don't want to pry or anything, but was there any relationship problems, or was it more coming to a greater understanding of how to relate to your significant other? Because I definitely had that going on too in 2019. Like, I am married. I do have a husband. He's not here right now. He lets me have my quiet time because he knows I'm recording this class for you guys. But there were certain conversations that we had to have, and me being clear about what's important to me and stating what's important to me instead of him trying to read my mind or guess what's important to me. So that conversation really needed to happen, and it did happen a couple of times, but it allowed us to grow even more understanding as a couple, and allowed our marriage to get even stronger because we were communicating directly and clearly without any malice or any real arguments. You know, it was a conversation instead of an argument, which I feel like showed a lot of growth between the two of us. So Katie asks, did you say Hanged Man would be the 12 year? Yes. So for 13, so 2019 for you would be a Hanged Man year because death is the card for you for 2020, which would be a year of transformation. So the Hanged Man as a year card, because remember, like, and by the way, this is a very interesting thing to do. The reason why I said right off the top of my head that this was released in 2011 is because I actually sat in a conference room or a classroom with Mary Greer as she walked us through some of the exercises in this book. So she had us looking at different years of our life based on what we just did here. The month. So you would do the month, the day, and then whatever year you want to explore. Sorry, I'm blocking the microphone, but I'm sure you can hear me. So instead of putting in 2020, I would be interested to see what calculates to for like 2012. Or so for me, 2011 was a really big year for me. And then when I was looking at all of the events that happened in that year and the year card that came up, I was just like, holy cow, like it was kind of crazy. But I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, 2011 for me was a Wheel of Fortune year. But that was the same year that I won the Tarot Apprentice contest. And like my business, as you see it right now, really sprung into action, really up leveled. So to me, it was almost like a card or that feeling of destiny being in the right place at the right time. Like if I hadn't won that contest, I probably would have stepped away from tarot altogether and not had the business that I had, because it was almost like assigned to me, like, should I continue with this or should I just leave it as a fun hobby, or should I really make a business out of it? But if I hadn't won that contest, I wouldn't have been sitting in a classroom with Mary freaking Greer. And so in that workshop, we went through a bunch of different years in our lives that we thought were significant in some way. And we calculated our year card for that year to see how it related. And it always did. So it was very interesting. So from what I remember of my Hanged Man year, there was a lot of stagnation. There was not a lot of forward movement. It was a very frustrating year. But when you move into the death year, you realize everything that needs to fall away in order for the stagnation to finally release from the Hanged Man year into the Death card year. Does that make sense, Katie? So I'd want to know if that relates to you guys. Like, can you see how this work would be awesome to do, not just for 2020, not just for 2021, 22, to see what energy is coming up for you, but also looking back and having perspective on those years and not looking back in a kind of like 5 of Cups, woe is me, what if kind of way, but more looking back to understand how it all related to each other and how you probably wouldn't be the person that you are right now or in the position that you're in right now had those events happened in a different way. Right. Yeah. So Dina's saying it's therapeutic. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are certain therapists and psychologists and counselors that are using tarot in their work right now. Some of them, this kind of work. I mean, there was an entire one-day conference through the tarot school in front of Reader's School Studio that was tarot and psychology. So this is actually very interesting stuff and a way to explore the archetypes that many psychologists talk about and work with, but bringing it more, I guess, accessible to the masses. Yeah. So Katie's emphasizing that the Hanged Man was her year card for 2019. Now she's moving into the year 13, the Death card, but she's saying that 2019 was a very frustrating year for her because it was the Hanged Man. I'm really wanting it to move. It's gonna. So we are now moving that into that energy, and hopefully with time and with compassion for ourselves and compassion for others, we can see how that Hanged Man energy is now going to transform and allow us to move forward, because there's no meaningless cards in the tarot. You know what I'm saying? Every card in the tarot has meaning. Each and every card, 78 of them, has a world of meaning within it. So it's important to have that energy represented, even if it's frustrating energy, even if it's a card that we really don't want to get. It has a treasure trove of lessons within it. And unfortunately, most of the most memorable lessons or the most growth inducing lessons are the hard lessons too. So I have a lot of compassion for the Hanged Man years because they are difficult. It's almost as if they are like the snow covering in the winter. Like, snow is frustrating. Like, not everyone likes snow, but it serves its purpose to blanket the ground and serve for growth and fertility when the snow thaws. But I admit it's very frustrating when you're in it. And only with time and experience do you realize after the fact, oh, I needed that to happen. Not to say that everything is meant to be or God has a plan or anything like that. I think that's a very flippant and cliche thing to say. But what I am saying is some of the harder lessons do have a purpose, or do serve some kind of knowledge to us. Yes, exactly. Dina is saying surrender is tough. Yes. And for the Hanged Man, that is one of the key words. It's surrender, it's sacrifice. It's the Hanged Man isn't doing that position out of nowhere or by accident. He is actually purposefully hanging himself that way in order to gain a new perspective and sometimes sacrifice or giving in or getting out of your own way. That's another lesson that comes up with the Hanged Man. I hate that lesson. I am not immune to liking certain cards and not liking certain cards. So I can definitely relate. So we're already at 10 minutes over the hour mark. So I'm glad you guys liked this episode. It seemed to be very informative and enlightening to you, and also a lot of contributions, a lot of activity and energy, which I really like. Very interactive. So yay, thank you. So Katie says it explains why it hasn't moved, because I did wonder what I was doing wrong. So bring on 2020. Yes. Skip into the new year. Hallelujah. So I hope this workshop really served you. Go ahead. I'm gonna plug it again, because it really is a great book. Who Are You in the Tarot by Mary K. Greer. Get it wherever you buy books, and really dive into it, because it has a lot. It's not just this portion. I'm just doing a short portion of this, which is the year card, but you got techniques for working with your personal cards, your birth cards, the tarot constellations. I'm pretty sure that I am the Emperor, because there is also, through the Tarot School, a birth card generator to tell you what your birth cards are. And I think it's along the same lines as this, but I'm not quite sure. But when I put in my information for there, I got Death Emperor is mine. So the constellation, there is a constellation in here, constellation of the Emperor, 22-13-4, which is the Emperor, Death, the Fool, and the Minor Arcana 4s. So that happens to be my tarot constellation for my birth year. I only know that off the top of my head because I've already calculated it ahead of time. So, yes. So Dina's saying, so Lynn bought the book. It's available on Kindle and Apple Books. I have this physical copy because I have it signed by Mary Greer, so no one is borrowing this one. Dina says she is the Hermit. Let me look here quickly. Let's see what the Hermit is. Yeah, the constellation of the Hermit would be the Hermit, the Moon, and the Minor Arcana 9s. So, and Lynn's saying me too. So I don't know if Lynn is my tarot constellation or Dina's constellation. So we'll work that out between the two of you. Year cards. So we just did that, and interpreting your year cards. We just did that. Soul groups and relationship dynamics, name cards, people or court cards, like, and an appendix A, the 8/11 controversy. So what I was talking about a little bit with the whole justice and strength card thing, because some people like justice at 8, and some people like strength at 8. I am a strength at 8 kind of girl. God, that sounds so nerdy. Lynn's saying same constellation as you, Hillary. See, this is the reason why we get along. Anyway, so pick this up. It's really, really good. Pick up your planners. Make sure that you transfer this information now over to your planner. Put it in a prominent place in your planner so that you know when you have a lesson like that coming up. Like for me, for the Chariot and the up-leveling that I'm going to be doing this year, right? Make sure you have that in a prominent place so that you can remember, oh yeah, 2020 is a Chariot year for me. 2020 is a Lover's year for me. 2020 is a Death year for me. And see how just having that reminder helps you out. Okay, good. Dina says, I love the 9 of Pentacles. The other 9, not so much. Actually, that's funny. The 9 of Pentacles reversed was today's tarot card of the day. So I feel like it was almost a tisk for me not to be buying so many things. So anyway, let us go into, any extraneous questions, other questions that I didn't answer in the workshop, please let me know. Doesn't have to be about the year cards, birth cards, or anything like that, but it would be preferable considering we just talked about it. Dina's going, oh, I think that's probably in reference to the Nine of Pentacles reversed today. Yeah. From this deck, by the way. Mystic Mondays Tarot is our deck of the month for this month. I love this deck. And look how pretty. See, it's not doing it justice, but shiny. Okay, so if there are no questions, no remaining questions, we are going to quickly do the weekend forecast, and then I'm going to let you guys go. You've done such a great job tonight. Thank you so much for attending live. If you're watching the replay, I appreciate you too. Thank you for going ahead and doing all of the work side by side with me and finding out your particular card. And go ahead and look up different meanings for the Major Arcana card that came up for your year card for 2020. And remember to honor your own intuition about that card as well. Like, tarot isn't tarot just through rote meanings in a book somewhere. Tarot comes alive when you make it alive and personal for you. So trust those instincts that come along with your intuitive impressions about that Major Arcana card for your year card. So on that note, let me go ahead and bring up my website, and we're going to do the weekend forecast. So the weekend forecast, I'm going to pull one card from the Mystic Mondays Tarot deck, which is our deck of the month that I've been doing the card of the day pulls. As I said before, the Nine of Pentacles reversed was today's tarot card of the day. You can go ahead and while you're on the Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, you can go ahead and look up the written interpretation. So we are asking about the weekend though. Okay, I'm going to actually cut the deck. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I don't have the companion book with me on hand. It's in my purse, but I don't need it. So the Wheel of Fortune is our weekend forecast card. So what was I saying before about the Wheel of Fortune as like a year card? It's like karma, it's destiny. It's also the wheel goes up, the wheel goes down. Fortunately, we're getting the Wheel of Fortune upright right now, which means that things are on an upswing. So pay attention this weekend to the people that you might meet or run into, the situations that you're in. If it has a sense or a touch of destiny, that's to be expected with the Wheel of Fortune coming up, because there is this like karma destiny feeling to the Wheel of Fortune. At least that's my sense of it right now as I'm looking at it. Just because you feel that it's fated doesn't mean that it's necessarily meant to be, but there might be that feeling of like deja vu happening. You know, like I feel like I've been here before. I feel like I've had this conversation before. Deja vu is a form of synchronicity as well. So that's the Wheel of Fortune for the weekend forecast. I hope that it serves you. Remember this card in the back of your head as you're going about your weekend. And remember, also, the Wheel of Fortune comes up a lot when there's multiple choices to be had. So look at the different divisions, you know, on here. It doesn't have to be a yes or no choice. It doesn't have to be that fork in the road like we talk about with the Lover's card where you go this way or that way or no way at all. For me, the Wheel of Fortune means it's a multiple choice, not just a yes or no or just two distinct paths. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling stagnated, maybe you're seeing options A, B, and C. Well, maybe there's an option Z that you haven't considered yet, but also try and get out of your own way, because you might be thinking so hard about that situation that, you know, you can't see the forest for the trees. So that is your weekend forecast for this weekend. I hope it serves you. And I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you all so much for attending and coming and working along with me to find out your year card for 2020. Tina's saying wine or beer, LOL. Yeah, maybe it's a scotch on the rocks instead. Maybe it's hard liquor. I don't know. Maybe it's option C. So I am not going to be, I'm going to put this up, but I just want to let you guys know that there will not be a new show next Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As usual, I am taking a personal day because unfortunately it is the 2-year anniversary of my father's passing. So I'm taking a day off that day. Me and my sister are taking time to ourselves to reflect and honor his memory and also spend time with each other. So that's what we're doing. So no episode, like, let me take this down. No episode next Friday. So let me, hold on. Let me put this up instead. So no episode next Friday, but we will resume again the Friday after that. Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be here again. I will put up some posts to remind you guys. I really appreciate you guys coming. This was an awesome episode. And as always, I'm Hillary of tarotbyhillary.com. Please come and see me, book a reading through my website right down there. I do all sorts of readings in person, Skype, phone, email, you name it. We don't have a boundary or a wall for energy. Energy can be read anywhere at any time. So if you live across the country, across the world, I can still read your cards for you. So, and I would love to. So go ahead and book a reading with me and get even more of what you just saw here. Again, thank you so much for watching. Remember, I am here to demystify the mystical and confirm and honor your own intuition because, yes, my friend, you have it. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy your weekend.